What's with all the hate for the Real Housewives of New Jersey's Giudice? One of the most iconic families to emerge from the Real Housewives of New Jersey is definitely the Giudice family. Teresa Giudice has showcased her four daughters since season 1, and her oldest, Gia Giudice, has always been a standout. From the jump, Gia won over the audience with her adorable and hilarious actions as a child. With time, as the show went on, and Gia grew up, she blossomed into a wonderful and successful young lady. Gia is arguably one of the most famous kids to come out of Bravo. She has gone from being known as Teresa Giudice's firstborn to making a name for herself as well. From graduating from the Rutgers University Law program to becoming a full-time influencer and landing a new reality show of her own, she is living life to the fullest and taking advantage of all life has to offer. So why all the hate? Why is Gia constantly receiving hatred online for simply living life? It is not fair and should be stopped. There are constant hate comments swirling around social media regarding not only Teresa Giudice and her husband, Louis Ruelas, but her whole family as well, specifically Gia. Whether Gia is simply posting on her Instagram or TikTok about influencer trips, vacations, or special moments with her family or clips from her new podcast, Casual Chaos, there are hundreds of negative comments every time. It has to stop. Gia is doing nothing that any other child of a famous parent is not doing as well, but for some reason, she is on the receiving end of so much hate. She minds her own business, stands her ground, and is just trying to make a name for herself and enjoy the opportunities and advantages handed her way. What is so wrong about that? People on social media are calling her either spoiled or undeserving, or mentioning that Gia is the reason as to why they will not be tuning into the new Bravo show, Next Gen NYC. It is amazing that Gia is stepping away from being in Teresa's shadow on the Real Housewives of New Jersey and becoming her own reality television star with her own identity on this new show. It should be celebrated rather than hated before the show has even aired. At least give her a chance first. It is no secret that Teresa Giudice is not for everyone. Some people love her, others hate her. Regardless of how anyone feels toward Teresa, there is no excuse for that disdain to be passed down to her child. Sometimes it seems as though people are so quick to judge Gia because of who she is related to, when that should not be the case at all. Not only is that super unfair to Gia because she is just trying to make a life of her own, but it is strange to hate on a child. At the end of the day, Gia is still a kid trying to navigate through life. There is already so much pressure to be on reality television, especially when Gia is aware that there are a lot of people out there who strongly dislike her mother and stepfather. She has gone through a lot more than most children her age have. Her parents went to prison, her father got deported, and then they divorced. That is a lot for a child to take. She does not need hate comments flooding her own social media. Gia has never done anything to warrant random strangers on the internet telling her nasty things about herself and her family. From the beginning of The Real Housewives of New Jersey, Gia has caught the attention of every viewer because she was a very hyper-extroverted little girl. As she has grown up, she has found a voice of her own and has defended not only herself against her estranged family members, but the rest of her family as well. She should never be viewed as bratty. She should be viewed as a strong young woman with a voice. The Gia Giudice hatred is strange. Not only is it strange to hate someone's child who is only trying to live her life to the fullest, but it is also strange to hate someone who is simply living and not doing anything to warrant the amount of hate she receives. If anything, she should be congratulated for being so young, yet getting her own reality show and podcast. Gia Giudice has grown up in the public eye, and not by choice. When she first appeared on The Real Housewives of New Jersey, she was just a wide-eyed little girl with a soft voice, bright spirit, and an unfortunate front-row seat to some of reality television's most jaw-dropping family drama. Over the years, we've watched her go from performing innocent songs like Waking Up in the Morning, cue the viral TikTok audio, to navigating college, public scrutiny, and a deeply complicated family legacy. And yet, somewhere along the way, the narrative shifted from sympathy for Gia to outright disdain. So, what gives? Why is there so much hate aimed at someone who never really asked for this spotlight in the first place? The weight of a last name. Let's start with the obvious. Gia's last name is Giudice. In RHONJ land, that name carries weight, drama, and a whole lot of legal baggage. Her parents, Teresa and Joe Giudice, became infamous for their very public fraud case, with both serving prison time. It's no small thing for a child to endure, much less in front of millions of viewers and a highly judgmental internet. But in the court of public opinion, lineage matters, and some people unfairly transfer the sins of the parents onto their children. Gia's every move is often viewed through the lens of who her parents are. If she speaks up, she's entitled. If she stays quiet, she's complicit. There seems to be no winning for someone who was dragged into this chaotic universe before she could even spell bravo. Many critics don't take into account the complex position she's in, trying to grow up, find herself, and create a life beyond her family's reality TV brand, while still being asked to defend or answer for it. Outspoken or overbearing? Part of the recent backlash stems from Gia becoming more vocal on the show. She's no longer a child content to quietly watch the chaos unfold. She's an adult with opinions, and she's not afraid to share them, especially when it comes to her family. To some viewers, Gia's protectiveness comes off as fierce loyalty. To others, it reads as entitled interference. Critics argue that she inserts herself into adult conversations, especially when defending her mother, and that she's inherited Teresa's tendency to escalate situations. But is it really so strange that someone who's watched her mother get publicly lambasted for over a decade might feel the need to step in and defend her? For Gia, the lines between family and franchise have always been blurry. To her, this isn't just a storyline, it's her life. Misogyny in a different font. There's also something deeper, more insidious, at play, the kind of generational misogyny that punishes young women for growing up, speaking out, and asserting themselves. Gia is no longer the adorable little girl in a pink dress crying about family feuds. She's a confident young woman who refuses to play the passive role viewers may expect. And in the world of reality TV and the internet in general, that shift often doesn't go over well. There's a tendency to infantilize women on screen and then resent them when they dare to mature into something stronger. Gia isn't doing anything particularly outrageous compared to other reality personalities, but because she grew up in front of us, any sign of assertiveness feels jarring. Some of the hate she receives feels eerily similar to the backlash that child stars or social media influencers get once they transition into adulthood. They're too much, trying too hard, or not staying in their lane. But what lane, exactly, was Gia ever allowed to choose? The shadow of Teresa. Let's not ignore the fact that much of the hate toward Gia is a proxy war against Teresa Giudice. Love her or hate her, Teresa is a polarizing figure in Bravo land, and as the eldest daughter, Gia is often seen as an extension of her mother, especially when she defends her or takes her side during feuds. But Gia isn't her mom. She's made it clear in interviews that she has her own views, her own goals, and her own moral compass. Still, people project their grievances with Teresa onto Gia, holding her responsible for a persona she never fully authored.